Canada immigration is over. Canada immigration is finished. The number of people being invited to Canada are on an all time low. And finally, people think that the Canadian immigration, the era of Canadian immigration, has come to an end. Guys, I can't even tell you how many times I have to face this particular question and look at these comments, videos everywhere across the internet on a daily basis. Well, I do agree that the Canadian immigration is going through a rough patch at present. The number of people being invited for Canadian PR and nowadays for temporary residents also are on an all time low. But having said that, the importance of Canadian immigration has never decreased. Um, because I've been living here for a longer time, and because I practice this profession, on an everyday basis, I am, comfortably in a spot where I can say that based on a couple of things that I'm about to tell you in this video, um, the Canadian immigration, the era of Canadian immigration is not yet over. In fact, Canadian immigration is more than important for Canada, more than ever. There are a couple of important issues that are going inside the country, which people, forget when they're thinking of moving to a different country. But as a country, we need immigrants more than ever. And if you look at the graphs of other countries as well, like US, UK, while those countries have a massive population, we are on an all-time low compared to the landmass. So, in this video today, we will be talking about anything and everything related to Canadian immigration and the fact that why is Canadian immigration important and why the era of Canadian immigration is still far from being over. And even though it's going through a rough patch today, people should not be disheartened. And here are important facts that will back up this particular positioning that I have. Guys, please be sure to watch the video till the end. My name is Sahil. Guys, welcome back once again. My name is Sahil and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and I practice here in Ontario. My office is here. If you have to get in touch with me, my number is on the screen and the details are there in the description box. More than happy to connect with you. Before we proceed any further, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon because we talk a lot about Canadian immigration. And if you are an aspirant to moving to Canada, then this is a channel that you must be subscribed to all the time. So, guys, we are discussing the important factors around Canadian immigration and the fact why is Canadian immigration still far from being over. The social media that is filled with comments, people have sentiments that Canadian immigration is coming to an end. The number of being people invited because temporarily is going low. People think that Canadian immigration is almost over, and there won't be PR. So people are now thinking that they should be thinking of other countries. So as I like to put Canadian immigration, so the pillars of Canadian immigration are obviously, we need more people. And the pillar of Canadian immigration, or the reason why Canadian immigration is exactly important, just like any other country, we do need people to fill the labor gaps and we do need people, for trade and everything. But far from that, there are some fundamental issues in the country, like demographic and the fundamental issues why for the country to sustain and for the country to exist, which stands below the main base of Canadian immigration. Now there are two important things for us to know here. One is the underlying issue around baby boomers, which I will just explain in this video, and the second underlying issue is the size and the population of the country today. Now, as we proceed further in this episode, we will first look at what baby boomers is, the underlying issue around baby boomers, and then we'll proceed to a directly connected issue of size and population. Now, first, who exactly are baby boomers? That's the most important, concept that we need to understand. Now, baby boomers is a term that is used to describe people who were born between 1946 and 1964. So technically, post the World War II, when the World War ended, uh, fighters from across the world returned to their developed nations, and then they started living with their partners, their wives, their partners, their soulmates, and they started obviously giving birth to children. So people born during the post 1946 era, or the post 1946 world till up until 1965, are known as the baby boomers. So this is the population that was born after the folks returned from World War II. So this is baby boomer. And why exactly is the 1964 important? The reason is because in the 1960s, something known as the pill was created or was invented, where within 2 years about 1.2 million American women, and which also includes the North American counterparts as well. So this is the AMA Journal of Ethics which has published this article. So in the 1960s, the pill was created. Okay, so when in 1946, after the World War, people started coming home, then there was a sudden increase in the population. If you look at the graph that is on the screen, if you look at between 1946, the population is, this is for the Canadian chart, so the population suddenly increases, and up until 1964, and the red spot here is when the pill was created. Okay, so up until the pill was created, there was a huge surge of population, and uh, after the pill, the downfall of the population started happening, because then the number of people giving birth to children that started reducing, because at the end of the day the women were tired and they didn't want to have maybe more children. This could be one of the reasons, although we don't have much facts into this particular scenario from the historians. But yes, obviously when the pill started coming in, people started consuming those pills, and the birth rate, or the birth rate started declining. Now, because a lot of people um, were born between 1946 till 1965, and then suddenly there was a gap of population. Obviously that gap is going to flow for a lifetime, right? Like in a particular country, if you don't have people being born for a period of 20 years, then obviously that 20-year gap will continue up until today, right? So because of that fact, Canada has started seeing people turning 85 as of 2021. Over 861,000 people are here in Canada who are older than 85, at the age of 85. So, whenever people turn more than 65, that is the official age of retiring, or the traditional age of retiring. And once people retire, they can claim more pension, and B, because of the health issues, underlying issues around COVID and the other old age health issues, people can expect that they would be making more trips to the hospital or the doctors or healthcare clinics. So, up until today, in the next 25 years, it is projected that up until 2046 or 20 end of 2049, there could be more than 2.5 million people alive more than 85. So that's a big number to cater. Okay, so more than 65 people who are retiring. And if you look at this graph, this is very interesting. This center line is where we are sitting at today. Well, this chart was created a bit earlier than this, but if you look at the gray line on top, we have people who are flowing in up until this, and then 2046 the people will start losing it. So this is the baby, so the gray line is the baby boomers, and then the Gen Z, which is being born in 1996 and onwards, is still trying to climb up. So we still have a lot of years to go. So the gap between 2024 and 2020, 2036, this is a big gap to cater, because we will be having a lot of pressure on the healthcare and the pension. So the baby boomers, they will be retiring soon, and they've already started retiring as of 2011. And by 2030, every person from the baby boomers age would have retired. Okay, or at least would have reached the age of 65 by when they can claim the old age pension scheme. The people over 85 will start climbing in, or they have already started climbing in. That means older people who require health related assistance, they have also climbed up. So, and because people are retiring, you take away that chunk of people from the workforce as well. So lesser taxpayers, right? So there are three issues. One, because people are retiring, so lesser taxpayers, so lesser working population. That means lesser number of people hands-on job and lesser taxpayers. Then people who are retiring will start claiming tax, old age pensions, and then the people who are going over 65 and 85 will start claiming more health. So four issues, four underlying problems with this particular baby boomer retiring issue. Hence, over the next 25 years, like I said, people over 85 could triple to almost 2.5 million people. And this is the director emeritus at International Center for Pension Management. He's saying that that's where immigration plays into it. We need more immigrants for a lot of reasons, but for one of them is to become future contributors. So, in terms of the issue, we need more taxpayers and we need more working population. Hence, Canadian immigration is very, very important today. We cannot afford to not have immigrants come to Canada. Okay, so my simple answer to people who say Canadian immigration is over, Canadian immigration is coming to an end, guys, this is the exact factual analysis why Canadian immigration is far from being over. We cannot call it over because we still need more people. Now, the second issue at hand is the size and population. Now, Canada has a landmass of approximately 9.95 million square kilometers. Okay, so that's three times the size of India, to be put into perspective. And why I'm putting up India here as an example is because we have a very big chunk of immigrants coming in from India, and then followed by China. Then we have Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the other countries as well. But a major contributor to the Canadian immigration is coming from India. Now, if you look at the landmass of, and the example is, India compared to Canada in terms of the demographics. Now, size of country, the red one is Canada. It is three times that of India. But if you reverse that in terms of population, Canada is just sitting at over 40 million today, and India is sitting at 1.41 billion. That is 35 times more. So if you look at people per square kilometer in India, that is way more than what Canada can even dream of today. And the landmass here in Canada is huge. So we still have a big scope of absorbing immigrants into the country. If you look at Canadian demographics overall, we have had a quarterly increase of just 0.6%, and the proportion of people between 0 to 14 is just 15.4%. So India, on the other hand, is a young country. We have a lot of population that is young, and overall the proportion of people above 65 are 18.9%. This is an alarming number as of 2023, and the median age in Canada is sitting at 40.6 years. Now, this is not a good number to be at. Fortunately, due to immigration, the number has declined 0.3%, in the year, but still we need to work on this. So average age in years is 41.6. So this is the demographics of Canada. It is not a healthy demographics if you look at a developed country. If you just look at our counterpart, which is US, the US population is way more than this, and the landmass is lesser than Canada, because Canada happens to be the second largest country by landmass in the world. So for a healthy country, these are not, for a developed country, these are not healthy demographics. If you look at, now, this is an interesting map to focus on. If you look at the coverage of population by the Canadian map, now the more density of people who are looking at by default is GTA, which is the largest. If you look at the map, this is 2022 figure, followed by Vancouver. Then you have people in Edmonton, Calgary, metropolitan area. Then you have people in Regina, and then you have people in Halifax, and some very few people in Moncton. Now, this particular number is clearly showing us that let's leave the northern part of Canada outside, because people could say that, okay, even despite having a larger landmass, most of the parts of Canada are inhabitable. It's covered by snow, it's covered by ice. People can't live there. Okay, agreed. But if you just look at the spaces below Whitehorse, going up until Charlottetown, this whole left to right, or west to east stretch, we still have a lot of population that can cover the entire region. So the growth of this particular region is very important. But when we talk about a particular country, a developed country in this matter, We cannot say that, okay, because most of the people are living in Calgary, we will leave out Whitehorse and Yellowknife, you know, out of the essential coverages. For example, the essential coverages could be, say, communication, could be radio, phone lines, towers, electricity, sewers. The cost to maintain those towers, sewers, the cost to maintain those water flowing, the plants. Then you need to have the areas covered by police, medical, ambulances, and then fire protection services. There is cost involved for them as well, right? So there are people, for them to exist, we need to have essential services, groceries, we need to have housing, then people to support the community. So if there is landmass in Canada, Canada cannot leave it unprotected, or nobody cannot live there, because Canada has to maintain the integrity and the safety of the country. If they leave a particular area out of their, where people don't live, then it will be an issue. Somebody from anywhere around the world can come and settle. People can start clawing into the country and then start claiming parts. So Canada, even though it could be the northernmost point of Canada, or the southernmost, or the western, or the easternmost point, we need to maintain that we have people living in those countries, communities. We need to have essential services in those countries, including phone lines, communications, electricity, and then there is cost involved. So the problem here is that, because just to use phone, we need to cover 9.9 million square kilometer, and that whole cost is to be divided amongst the 40 million people only. Okay, so for people to reduce the cost of, so we are very popular in Canada, that we have the highest paying phone plans, or the data plans in the world. The reason is this: because just for covering the, just for giving service to the whole population here in Canada. Now today I could plan on visiting Yellowknife or Whitehorse. I can't, or the Canadian government or Rogers or Shaw Communication cannot justify that, because there are very few people. We will not provide communication there. They have to provide, and for that they need to provide services, install towers, install radio waves and whatever. For that particular reason, the cost of covering the whole country, just an example, right? Now that would be cost of electricity as well, water as well, everything. So the cost gets divided amongst the 40 million people. That means cost of those essential services also gets burdened upon the 40 million taxpayers. If 40 million taxpayers are less, if more and more people are retiring, then the whole cost has to be borne by the leftover population or the future immigrants. Hence the immigration is important. Now, in the another issue at hand is the population. Now if you look at the fertility chart, this is again by StatCan, which is the government of Canada. Back in 1960s, the fertility was well over 4, was around 4, and today the fertility is just below 1.3. This is per women. And in 2022, the total fertility rate has reached the lowest level on record at 1.33 children per woman in the country. This is a very low number, and this is like a time bomb that you're sitting on. One, the population is growing old, they're retiring, and they require more services, 85 years. Other hand, the growth is growing low. Then who will fill the bell curve? Who is going to provide for taxes? Who is going to provide for labors? Then here is the importance of immigrants, and this is why immigration is important in Canada. And then there has to be somebody who has to bear the cost of covering the whole country as well, right? We need to take care. So we need to have army around the around the whole country. We need to have say air force, navy, whatsoever is required to protect the whole country. We need to have all of that, guys. At the end, or just a bit before the end, all I have to say here is that don't be disheartened. Immigration is important, and this is a snapshot from the Canadian immigration website. The Canadian Immigration Department themselves acknowledge that immigration matters. Now, the problem at hand is that people are thinking that why, or I'm sure people really want to know that why are you still focusing on reducing the numbers of immigrants? So, guys, there has to be a healthy balance between growing the population and also the requirements of Canadians as well. And then there are certain political agendas as well. What really happens is, say, for example, we have a city, and that city has been currently designed to accommodate, say, 200,000 people. If you suddenly overload the city with 1 million people in a day, or say in a year, the city will not be ready by infrastructure, by housing, by water supply, or say electricity, phone, groceries, anything, police. The city will not be ready overnight to accommodate 1 million people. So the influx of immigrants has to be staggered in a way that they call a few people, the number of few people, they merge in the economy, they increase the GDP, they increase the, they get merged with the labor market, and then they start working towards inviting more immigrants. So this is how there has to be a slow phased in immigration growth. It cannot be a sudden increase of 1 million people overnight. Okay, so always growth has to be phased in, because that is the way to increase the infrastructure. So today we have, say for example, 300,000 Ukrainians coming in, and then those 300,000 Ukrainians will be merging into the economy, for example construction, say heavy duty jobs or anything, and then they will work towards building a stronger infrastructure, more houses. And once, or we are closer to having more houses, we can start bringing in more people, right? So it's a phased in approach. So overall, immigration is important. Why? Because we need to support the aging population. The number of people supporting, paying pension and taxpayers. I remember there was, when the previous immigration minister was in, he was holding a press conference. He said that by the time he is about to retire, there will be only 1.3 Canadians paying taxes for his pension. And by the time you and I retire, there will be far more lesser people to pay taxes for our pension and our essential services. So we need to support the aging population. We need to sustain the Canadian education system through international students. International student, the market itself is more than $21 billion, and it is an important part of our growth as a community, for bringing in money, for bringing in students, inexpensive labor, for growth of particular cities, infrastructure, and everything. So international students are a huge contributor to the Canadian immigration, to the Canadian economy, and the Canadian immigration does acknowledge that. We need to meet the labor market requirements as well. The government today cannot sustain people earning $35 per hour on entry level jobs. Hence, we need people who are able to do entry level jobs with the minimum wage requirements. So that is also important, and immigrants do play an important role. Whenever immigrants come in, the trade does definitely go up. Cultures exchange, people bring in more products, people take away more products, more export and import. It is a good point to be export, say import deficit. We need to export more in order to grow our GDP. So that is really important. And last but not the least, temporary labor needs who are qualified to merge with the economy. That is also an extremely important part. For example, agri, healthcare, people to work in the essential sectors, so that the country keeps on functioning. Guys, overall, this is the important situation where the world needs to understand that Canadian immigration is far from being over. It is definitely on the verge, or on the losing end, where people might think that Canadian immigration is on a decline, but no, they're not on a decline. They're just recouping. They're just trying to merge the existing immigrant population with the existing Canadian population. They're trying to focus more on increasing the infrastructure, developing the infrastructure, and then being ready to accommodate more people. Another thing to note here is that there are political agendas. The country is undergoing population, say, political voting very soon, which is 2025. For that, they need to work in tandem with the Canadian population as well, because if they keep on inviting more people, then housing and all, everything gets densed up in one area, and then people are unhappy. So they need to spread out the population, make sure that people are residing in different cities, they don't get densely populated in one area only. And then we should be looking at certain reforms and changes soon, probably in a year or 1.5 year from today. And hopefully people will start coming in once again. They're still coming in. The quotas have not yet been released for the immigration levels plan has not yet been released for the next 3 years. So hopefully everything is good for now, and everything remains in plan as per the last immigration levels plan. Guys, I hope the video today and the communication was effective, gave you much insights into what's happening in the world of Canadian immigration. If you have anything to discuss with us, if you have any personal situations, please feel free to schedule a consultation with us. We would be more than happy to speak with you. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Like, share, and subscribe, and share with your friends so that they also get to know more about Canadian immigration. Guys, we wish you all the best and we really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.